and welcome back to Drama After Dark, the GBH live after show, where tonight we are talking about Roadkill, episode 2, and oh my goodness, what an episode ending! That was a little crazy.
There was so much going on with that. Like, you first, the Charmian thing, and then you have Peter's just like, casually driving down the road. It's your daughter. Oh God. I mean, that's not, you don't want bad news on the road or good news. I don't know. I'm guessing it's bad news for him. But what?
That was a lot to process. Look, I think I'm still thinking about what we just saw, but I do think we should give everyone the full recap experience so that they don't forget the stuff that happened at the beginning of the episode, which was also pretty relevant. So let's go into the speed recap. All right.
It's my turn this week.
It is your turn this week. I feel a little bad because this was a little bit of a crazier week than last week, in more ways than one for all of us. So
it is, but as is my wont, I'm going to talk mad smack at you, because I'm ready and I'm going to own it. And let's go. Let's go.
All right. Okay. All right. I like that energy from you. All right. So I've got the timer here, and I'm gonna just position my hand. And are you ready? Go!
Peter is taking over the Justice Department with a vengeance. At a mic drop conference, he declares he's completely overhauling the system, including a mass reduction of sentence time. Nobody likes that. And a veritable coven of women form an anti-Peter Lawrence club. And if work is bad, home is worse. His daughter Lily has found out about his affair and is called a family meeting while a genetic test confirms that the young woman in prison is indeed his kid. Meanwhile, an American Charmian goes fishing for info and catches a big one. Maybe too big, in fact, as it seems that our girl has been taken out.
Oh, so close. I'm going to give it to you because that was incredible.
And I slowed it down to,
And you slowed it down for the energy, for the verb.
For the effect. Thank you. Yes.
And it worked pretty well, I will say.
Thank you.
My goodness, what an episode.
I know.
I do like your description of the coven of women that's trying to take Peter out. Like,
so many angry women.
Right, because we've got Julia and Dawn in the political camp. We've got his new undersecretary who hates him so much, which I get, like he's horrible to her. We've got
and she's like fusing a connection with the warden of the women's prison that he's been like, I'm paying special attention to this one because of the riots, right?
Right.
So the two of them are going to come together. It's just the riots. It's not my child.
I don't have a secret love child. It's fine. What? And then we've got Margaret, his driver, his daughter, his wife, his mistress.
Oh my God. His lawyer.
His lawyer.
Like,
Peter.
What? My friend, you done messed up. And you should never make that many women mad at you because, they will always find a way.
They will. Now, speaking of these women, let's go over some of our favorite moments from tonight. I think one of the ones that we both talked about really enjoying was that meeting between Margaret, who is the tipster that we don't really know a lot about yet, and barrister or lawyer or solicitor. I'm actually not sure which she is because we haven't seen if she has a wig or not.
I think she's his barrister because she leads the team. She was wearing a wig in the first episode. I noticed that.
Great. Okay, yeah. So we'll go with barrister. Rochelle is her name. And that was a spicy little meeting.
Okay. I feel like they're at the beginning of either a beautiful frenemies relationship or the beginning of like enemies to friends, or who knows, maybe it's enemies to girlfriends. I'm into it either way. I mean, obviously the classic is to have, we have Margaret already dating the driver, but I think Margaret and Rochelle would be a really cute couple. And now that they seem to have this like weird flirty sexual tension thing, I am there for it. Let's not lie.
I could not agree more. I am into it. I mostly just like that a coalition is building to take this guy out, because the more we see him, the more I have so many questions about whether he is just like the shadiest or just shady. Either way, shady.
It's like he's shady. He's trying to do something good with the prisons, as far as I can tell. Because one of the big things, we'll talk about it later, but one of the big things that we saw in this episode is like, PM Dawn is so dedicated to that prison pipeline system and the recidivism, and she's not like looking to get rid of it. And if I remember right, weren't they talking about privatizing it too, which is also a like death knell for prisons a lot of the time?
Yeah, so like their system is super privatized, and it's not only is it obviously a bad system, but it's not even saving them money. So it's like a double whammy of not being good.
No, and when you privatize systems or when you privatize prisons, that's always makes this whole recidivism system worse. So, she's clearly not the best person for this. And he's trying to do something which is better, which is reduce sentence times, look at the recidivism, looking how to reduce the population in prison. And so, that's kind of a good aspect to Peter. But at the same time, he's out there philandering.
Right. Well, and it's not clear to me if he's just doing that because he doesn't want to get caught in a scandal, and so he's like, if I can get this kid out of prison, whoever it is, like I don't want to ascribe anything to him yet because we just don't have enough information. But I have questions. I have questions.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of questions that we had, I think in terms of shadiness, maybe the shadiest thing that happened in this entire episode was that horrifying dinner with Charmian and the lobbyist guy whose name I believe was Barry, who you were correctly describing as Patrick Bateman. Like, what was that creepy conference room? What was that weird service of dinner? It's just grapefruit juice, and it very clearly was spiked. Everything about that had all alarm bells just screaming everywhere from all sides. I hated it a lot. It looks like we lost Andrea, but she's coming back. So, what an awful moment for all of us that was. Another favorite moment we both had on the list here is Lily standing up to her mother, which we're definitely going to talk about in the hot take debate. So we would love you to tell us on social how you feel about Lily and her relationship with her mom. And while we look for those questions, I'm just going to head over to the social phone and see if we have any good comments from you guys.
And I think I'm back. So
she's back! Oh my god! Yay!
Oh, I'm frozen again. Great.
Internet challenges, always the tough thing about the 2020 live show experience. So we may have some cutouts in and out here tonight. We're going to keep trying to keep it going. So while we're doing that, let's take a look at the comments. So we have one comment from Suzanne, who it looks like is tuning in on Facebook locally in Boston. Hey, Suzanne! Thanks for joining us! We also have some great comments on Twitter, one of which is from a friend of the show, Amanda Ray. Hi. And she says, this show is getting crazy cakes, and I love it, which is accurate.
Yes, 100% Amanda.
Truly crazy cakes.
Truly.
So keep those comments coming. We want to hear from you, where you're watching, what you're liking about the show, your favorite moments, and how you feel about the hot take debate, which we're going to do right now. Hot take debate.
As long as I can stay on the internet, we will do the hot take debate. Let's dial in Megan in the field to do the hot take debate for me, but we'll see what happens.
Sounds good. Okay, so while we have you, let's do this quickly. So the hot take debate this week, the topic is, does Lily actually have a leg to stand on when it comes to criticizing her mom and dad? Now, as we may recall in this episode, she got caught doing drugs at a party on camera by the press, but she still doesn't like that her dad is cheating on her mom, and her mom doesn't seem to care about it. In this debate,
which side would you like to take? I'm curious, because last week you gave me the first chance, so.
I think I would like to argue that she does indeed have a leg to stand on, and that she should feel free to criticize her parents, if you're okay with it.
Totally.
All right. Shall I begin?
Please.
All right. Here's how I feel about this. Yes, she is doing typical teenager stuff, right? Like she's, well, I don't know if we can call it drugs typical teenager stuff. I do not know enough about the demographics of Britain and how drug use goes. But look, partying, pretty typical. Being annoyed as heck at your mom and dad, also extremely typical. That I think we can safely say everybody has done at one point or another. And I also think, like, when you're in, like, the high-pressure situation of being a politician's kid, which I cannot imagine what it's like to be in that position. Like, it was hard enough to be a normal teenager and college student and not have your whole family in the limelight that much. coming after your parents for like putting you in a crappy position. And honestly, like if they did anything wrong, like I already was like waiting to yell at my parents for stuff that annoyed me. So she's in a doubly good situation to do that because she's, you know, she's painted into a corner here, I feel. Also, like we know her dad is shady as heck. I don't as much get the criticizing of her mom, although like I would not choose a relationship or a marriage like that. I do think she should just feel free to rag on her dad as much as possible because he sucks. That's my big that's my takeaway. But you had a different opinion, or we're going to argue a different opinion. So
yeah, I kind of do have a different opinion. I think this isn't her business. I think other people's sexual mores aren't your business. And I think that if this works for them and they're happy to do this, then that's their business. And I think she's using this as a moment to be like, this was not what I expected. But why would you ever discuss this with your child? You're not going to discuss your sexual preferences with your child. At least we don't do that in my household. It might be different in other people's households. Again, I'm not here to judge. But I think you wouldn't discuss that with your kid. And I think that in a way she's using this to get away from the fact that she just got caught snorting cocaine in a club. And, you know, she's using this moment to be like, what I did was bad, but what you guys are doing is so much morally worse. Is it though? Is it? Because nobody's being hurt. Everybody knows the deal. Everybody knows what's happening. Everybody involved, they might not be perfectly happy with it, but they're content and they are happy enough to let it remain the way that it is. Except her. But she has a relationship with those two people in a way that does not involve sexuality, so she does not get to judge.
You know what? I think that's a really good point. The only thing that makes me not agree with you is a thing, I know, is a thing that Lily actually doesn't even know about yet, which is the love child. So I think that if you are going to do like an arrangement like this, like in private life, like super do whatever you want. Like I don't care. Live your life. If you're a politician, I could see this kind of arrangement probably like works for them in a way that I don't really get, but they can do, and like who cares? But him having a love child is going to be such a huge scandal for the family, and it's going to affect all of them so much that
yeah, it is. And I would, if she was having a fit about that, I would feel differently. But she's not having a fit about that. She's not. She's having a fit about what is an arrangement for them in their romantic life that she has no part of.
I don't know.
I think if she came home and she was like, hey, how dare you have had a love child before, like either before or immediately after I was born. Like, okay, I still don't, whatever, but I get like why you would be like, that was really irresponsible, Dad. Like, you know, like reverse lecturing your dad to be more careful in his swinging 60s youth. I get it. I get that. But I think coming home and being like, hey, what you guys are doing romantically, sexually, whatever, like, I'm not okay with it. That's not her decision.
Like, but it affects her a lot though, because she's like seeing her mom. Well, she's seeing her mom not being happy, I think. And I also wonder if part of her thing is like, Mom, you have just been letting this happen and you don't actually like it. You're not actually okay with it. Like, we don't know for sure.
We don't know that. If we knew that, if the mom was like definitely not happy, we saw the mom being like, you know, that's just how it is. And
but she's such a brittle woman. She's not like having the time of her life. She's hanging out with people who can barely get through Handel's Messiah. That was not a good performance. I'm sorry, Saskia Reeves.
I'm just going to say, we didn't see her really hot live-in Latin lover. So if that had been included, you'd probably feel the same way I do, to be honest, Jackie. Like, as we missed the scene, they cut away before her like live-in boyfriend with the 6-pack who only wears like the tiniest boxer briefs. He walked in and he was like, hello. And her daughter was like, oh, okay. All right. I get it.
If she indeed does have a cute boyfriend and is happy about it, that is a very different story. But I think that she's just putting up with something that isn't really working for her because she feels like she has to, because she's a politician's wife and can't really get out of it. I don't know. I think we have to agree to disagree on this one, as we always do.
Until we get more evidence.
Until we get more evidence. Great.
Yeah.
I like it.
Now, and then when we
you
see
probably
her live in Latin Lover, we'll know that I was right.
I like it. All right. I'm hopeful. I think she deserves it. Now, look, we think you may agree with us, you may disagree with us. We would love to hear what you think. Put those comments on Facebook, on Twitch, and on, if you want, Twitter. We'll check there too, and of course on YouTube. And we will keep an eye out for them. Our social media manager, Zach, will keep sending them to me via Slack. And in fact, I think he sent me a couple just now, so I'm just going to go check these out. We have a comment from David on Twitch who says, I missed last week, so I watched the first 2 episodes back to back and should have stretched or something before. I was not ready. Which is a huge mood. Yeah, I hear you.
Let's do a quick sun salutation between episodes and you'll be fine.
Yes, exactly.
Advice from somebody who pounded through Victoria.
Yeah, like, we watch so much TV for work, we weirdly have good advice on this. Now we have another question, or comment rather. This is from Tony on Facebook, and he says, Peter is written so well, he's so scummy that he's doing the right thing for the prison out of spite to the PM. Couldn't agree more. I do love a scummy character once in a while, and let's just say this guy is very, very scummy. So, Team Peter with the scum factor. Let's see, we've got a couple other ones. This is actually relevant to the whole family situation. We have at WorkRightCom on Twitter who says, I would want my kid to be more responsible and not snort coke, so I get Peter's anger, but I'd also be very worried about my kid who's snorting coke. Really good point, very valid. I also feel that way, frankly. It looks like we have briefly lost Andrea again, unfortunately, so I think we're going to skip right along to another segment that we have prepped here, which is, of course, Megan in the Field! Da-da-da-da! Everyone's favorite. We love it very much. I'm assuming we're still online. Yeah! Huzzah! Hey, Megan, thanks for joining us again.
Thank you for having me. What a week. What a week. It's good to be here.
What a week indeed. Yes, I am just very glad that we're all online and alive after this week. Our entire team, for context, was involved with working for the election coverage at our news affiliate here at GBH. So we're a little tired. We're a little loopy. Our internet is a little tired too. But we're going to try and make it through here. So, Megan, legal correspondent, Megan Smith.
Yeah.
We have so many questions about what happened tonight in terms of just like all the weird illegalities that were going on. So let's start a little bit by talking about what's going on with the prison privatization situation in England. Is it, different than the US? What's up with that?
Yeah, so the show has been really fun. And what I love about the show is that I feel like it's talking about issues that are not usually in dramas. So, for example, there's so many shows out there that are about prisons and people in prison, but this show is like about politics of mass incarceration and how people get into prison, which I'm really enjoying. So I was curious, this whole conversation about privatization and private prisons, I was curious how it compares to the US. Because it starts out when, after the riot, Peter says that the UK is the European champions of locking people up. We lock up more people than anyone else. And then the PM says, the British people like locking people up. It's in our character, which I thought was very telling.
That's like such a colonialist point of view.
I know, what an upsetting quote. That really messed me up. I did not like it.
Yeah. Was she bragging? Like, was she okay with it? Like, let's watch that. I'm not sure where she stands.
Yeah, I did not like that.
No.
Yeah. But I think most people might know this already, but the United States is far and away the country that locks up the most people. Even though the US is 5% of the population, it actually holds 25% of the world's prison population. And it, with mass incarceration, it's been going up for decades. But Peter is right about the Europe point. I looked into this, and England and Wales, which have their prison systems together, does have the highest rate in Western Europe for prison populations. And then when it comes to private prisons, that's also a big topic in the US. over the last 20 or 30 years, there's been more private prisons, meaning the government contracts out a private for-profit company to run a prison. And like you guys were talking about, there's a lot of debate about the ethics of that because, you know, more prisoners means more profit, and, you know, where does that lead you? So the United States was the first country to have private prisons, and currently there's about the 8% of the prisoners in the United States are in private prisons. But in the UK, or in England and Wales, I should say, it's about 18%. So private prisons are a much bigger thing there, which I didn't quite realize.
No, that's definitely news.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's, you know, it's funny because I keep referring back to Orange is the New Black because that's the most recent like prison drama I feel like in our cultural history. And I mean, they did a whole thing on privatizing prisons there and how it becomes a totally different situation.
You
know,
I love that show.
Yeah,
and that show showed women in prison, and this show is showing the female characters as well, which I like for a change.
It's a nice
in a way
mix,
that's real,
I guess, to cover both.
And not the 70s, you know, women in prison vibe.
Yes, exactly. Now, speaking of legal stuff, because this part, I think, really confused me the first time I watched it for sure, and I'm sure I'm not alone in this. What is the deal with this lobbying situation, and why was what Peter was doing illegal? Like, we know he went there to give a speech ostensibly and was paid a great deal of money, but like beyond that, what exactly happened tonight?
Yeah, so another topic I didn't expect to talk about in dramas is the ethics of lobbying, right? I mean, this whole plot line started with this kind of shady guy, Barry. I know you guys already talked about it, but he's so creepy, and he's definitely... I was so confused at first. I didn't realize they were in Washington, D.C. I thought they were in like Ireland because I heard a faint Irish accent. And then they said they were at a Republican bar. And I was like, do you mean Irish Republicans? But anyway, they're in D.C. So we're in the swamp, otherwise known as the swamp. So as I think you guys probably know, lobbying and think tanks are a totally normal thing in D.C. They're totally legal. They're totally, you know, there's some regulations, but they're everywhere. And there's a lot of well-known ones that you guys have probably heard of, like the Brookings Institution or the Heritage Foundation, Human Rights Watch. They're all ideologies. They're not just a right-wing thing. But there's a lot of people that think that lobbyists are too powerful and there's too much money in politics. When you hear the swamp, that phrase, they're usually referring to lobbyists. So at the end of the episode here, we hear, we learned through the investigative reporting that Peter was paid by this conservative think tank to deliver a speech about pharmaceuticals where he gives advice about healthcare and drug policy. And the source tells us that Peter was paid off books for this speech. He was paid through a shell count. I don't remember the name of it, but Charmian seemed to know what that was. So it couldn't be traced. So what's going on here? What it sounds like to me is that the lobbying group paid Peter for his influence. So remember in this episode, Peter talks about changing drug policies. No, I'm guessing that maybe the money had something to do with that now. So that's obviously highly unethical. I would keep an eye on that. And then most of all, Peter is profiting off of his government position, which that is corruption. That's like the definition of corruption.
I know,
so,
it's illegal.
So they're influencing. They're influencing a foreign politician through money, and Peter's profiting off of it, and it's all off book, so you know it's shady. So my kind of interpretation of this whole plot line is that basically Peter is clearly driven by money rather than, you know, ideology. He does say that he's a libertarian. We learned in this this episode, which means he wants small government and privatization of everything. But I think that, you know, he's clearly driven by something not as ideological as that.
Yeah, I have to say I'm glad you came on to explain this week, Megan, because watching it, I was like, okay, so he's making money. What do they want?
Yeah.
Like, why is that bad? But this makes more sense. Thank you.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
Yeah. Coming from a capitalist background, it's like one of those things where you're like, oh, whatever.
Oh, yeah, and it was and it was the American-British thing of it.
Now, one last question before we let you go, Megan. If people want to learn more about this, you had some suggested sources where people could read more, learn more.
Yeah, so I've been reading a lot in quarantine, and one book I read this summer was and watching TV, but reading too. I read Dark Money by Jane Mayer, which is this fascinating, amazing book by this journalist. It's basically she investigates the network of the really wealthy families in America, like the Koch family, the DeVos family, the Coors family, how they have poured just billions and billions of dollars into creating this big network of right wing think tanks and academic university centers and media organizations to push their agenda, their right wing agenda. And it's all, they do it all legally through loopholes, but it's fascinating. Trust me, it's a lot better than it sounds. It's basically like a thriller because she's such an amazing writer. So if this is a topic you'd like to learn more about, I would recommend that book.
Make no mistake, that face was about what they were doing, not about the book.
Right.
Oh, I trust you. Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Well, thank you so much for joining us once again, Megan, in the field, legal correspondent. We appreciate it as always.
Nice to be with you, Jackie.
And we are now going to go, speaking of reporters and wonderful writers, we're going to go talk about our friend Charmian in a segment that we are calling Dammit Charmian.
I mean, I feel bad for our girl here because, she might be irrevocably out of the show, and I feel bad about that.
I really was bummed by this. We did a little
digging on IMDb. We have not watched the next, at least I haven't watched the next episode.
No, I haven't either. Not yet.
And we try to keep it fresh. We did a little digging, and it looks like this is it. So we're assuming she's dead. She might not be. She might come back. But at the same time, like, what the heck, Charmian?
I'm so upset.
I know.
Like, look, she is a actually good journalist, is what we found out in this episode today. She knows how to find a source. Yeah. She knows how to keep digging until she gets the answers she wants. She doesn't mess around. And the fact that she got taken out sort of in the prime of her, like, just as she had gotten that lead that was going to, like, fix her problems.
Yes. It was so frustrating. And I mean, yes, she's a good journalist, but also going through this whole episode was just step after step after step of, damn it, Charmian. Like, oh, take a drink, you realize it's alcoholic, you just chug it down. Damn it, Charmian. Like,
the brandy really got me.
Yeah. And like the beer, the brandy, it was one of those where I was like, I feel like maybe she would have noticed an oncoming panel van had she not been clearly drunk. Just a thought.
Well, the other thing that was so interesting to me is that she's like running into the night in a neighborhood she doesn't know that well, and then like has someone on the phone who is going to witness what might happen to her, and then it says, I'm going to call you back, instead of using that as like a leverage point. Damn it, Charmian, be careful! Look around you, girl!
Well, one of the other things too is when you are in a situation where somebody starts yelling at you, you go, hey, friend on the phone, these guys are yelling at me. Here's exactly what they look like. Damn it, Charmian! Like, learn something about self-defense, girl.
Come on, Charmian. Oh, I'm really sad.
Yeah,
I like her a lot. I think I think we're not going to see more of her because this show feels like a little more accurate in its medical depictions than, say, a Mean Girls, wherein a character was hit in the same manner by a bus and walked it off. Essentially, I mean, no, she had like
Mean Girls, Heathers, as one does.
I think they're probably not going to bring her back, but I'm really upset about it because I like that character a lot. So, damn it, Charmian.
Also, one last damn it, Charmian was you wind up in Crystal Clark's apartment and you don't hang out there for longer. Damn it, Charmian.
Damn it, Charmian. Yeah, that was truly one of the highlights of this episode, was to see Crystal Clark back on our Masterpiece screens.
In her native accent too.
Yes,
which you pointed out to me. Yeah. I totally, from Sanditon, did not realize that Crystal Clark was American, and Jackie told me that, and I was shocked, bewildered, excited. We got one.
Always fun. So that's Dammit Charmian. We felt a lot of feelings. Our last very brief segment of the night is, of course, my favorite, back again, Andrea's least favorite one when I say it. If you this, Look, I have to do it. It's required. Now, we're going to go through these pretty quickly because we're getting towards the end of our time here. But we have 2 recommendations of shows we think that you will like if you liked this show. Mine, if it's okay if I go first, is, of course, a favorite political drama of mine. It's more of a comedy, really. But I couldn't not recommend Veep, you guys. It's Hugh Laurie. He's in both things. He's a true delight. Just a good guy and a lot of fun to watch on TV. So that's my pick. And for fans of politics and people who watched a lot of the returns this week, you would definitely recognize some plot points because they really got into like election law in the United States, which is kind of fun. It looks like we are losing Andrea briefly again, so I am going to look and see what our comment of the day is so that she can do her recommendation when she comes back. So let's see what we've got. We have a comment from @Jaxbra on Twitter who says, 2 gasps in 1 episode. This never happens to me. I'm always anticipating it. Well done, masterpiece. I have to agree. I almost never have this reaction, and I was blown away by tonight's episode. Surprise. We have another one, which I think we will make comment of the day, which is @Angela Stafforder. Says, great episode. So much going on. I couldn't stop watching to tweet. Roadkill PBS. Look, that's a good episode. And I think we have Andrea back. Is that right? Is she moving? We do! Andrea, return to our screens. Tell us your recommendation.
My recommendation is to not get Verizon internet ever, apparently. Calling them out today. My recommendation for this week is Modus Season 2. So we all know I love Modus dearly. I have a lot of fondness for it, let's be honest. Not just because of the characters who form. I did it again. Freeze again?
No, a little bit. We can hear you though.
Well, I'll keep that beautiful face on the screen of me frozen then, and I will tell you guys that I really like Modus Season 2 because Kim Cattrall plays the President of the United States, and she gets kidnapped, and there's weird little political elements in it that are really fun. And I think y'all might like that if you enjoy Roadkill.
Great. I love it. I think that those are both solid and accurate predictions of what you will like if you like this. And I hard agree. Modus Season 2 is a lot of fun. And with that, I think we're all set for the night, y'all.
Oh golly.
I know, it went fast again.
It goes by so fast when your computer is not working, I have to say.
The time flies when you're having fun with the internet. Well, thank you all for joining us. We had a wonderful time, as always, talking about Roadkill, Season 1, Episode 2. If you would like to know more about this, head over to WGBH.org, where we have tons of drama coverage. And we will see you all next week, back here, same time, same place, hopefully with better internet for Episode 3.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.